Awesome. Okay. So the two of you have experienced the whole year of opening shebang. You did the whole year. You are fully graduated. And I am so deeply grateful that you would come chat with us about it a little bit, about your experience. So,
Big thanks. Big thanks.
yeah. So I just want to jump right in and I actually want to zoom us all back. Like let's just go back in time to what was going on in your life when you first came across my work, the idea of the year of opening. Like what was happening for you?
You want to okay, start? Yep. So we were pretty confident we were 100% empty nested at that point. So, right, our children were grown and flown, although there was like a 6-week stint where one of them came back for a little while in the middle of the work. So I was pretty sure it wasn't positive, but we were in this space of, we got married when we were 23. So let's even go back to that space. And
Yeah.
just right. That could be a whole nother thing. But so fast forward to now, it was a year and a half ago at this point. We found ourselves in this space of, okay, we have a great life, but one of the areas that felt like there was still some room for growth and deeper understanding of ourselves was in how we related to one another sexually. So we were in that space, and we were also I have a friend who had recently stepped into the BDSM community, and really dear friends. So as she was going through that, she was sharing all of her learnings and processes, and it was some point along in talking to her that she sent me your TED Talk. So, right,
The good old compersion talk.
First introduction was, and honestly, that was probably 2 years before like we were ready, right? So that was something that came into the field. It was there, but there was no like initial like, oh my gosh, we got to do something about this or with this, right? It was just kind of there for a while. Do you want to add anything? Yeah, and we were kind of, to speak for me, with empty nesting, and then I felt like we were stuck in a routine of sexually, just the same thing, over and over, different day, and it was getting boring to me. And then, I was, really feeling like wanted to explore more into myself and what I really wanted, and was drawn to like kink, and even considering my sexuality and all kinds of things. Just like everything was up for grabs to explore. And then when we found out about you, I think we were coming home from somewhere, and we took your little quiz about how to, what's the quiz that you open your relationship, and we ended up having a call with you later that week, and it kind of snowballed, from there, and
I just love that you both took your time. There was no
Mm-hmm.
rush. You
Yeah.
were presented with the idea that there was exploration, but you didn't rush. You allowed it to unfold.
Yeah, and we've been doing the same thing, in this marriage, just with the relationship escalator, and the and we're looking for, thinking outside the box, and so that's and we were still very happy together.
That's what I would draw a real highlight on there. When I first talked to you, I remember you both just being so in love and so happy and so successful by all the outer measures that the world could possibly ask of you. You'd done all the things and you were still doing them. There was no, oh, this just doesn't work. You appeared to really want to up level in some way. And you kind of didn't, you seemed to me like you weren't even quite sure what that meant exactly.
Yeah, we didn't know what it meant, and we were very intrigued to, I was very intrigued to, you know, learn what we were going to learn from the year of opening, and even though not knowing what we want to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that maybe that brings us to our next question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since we're talking about it, what were you hoping to learn or change? Like I hear you say you didn't know, but what did you have in your imagination?
Yeah, this was an interesting question for me because I didn't know what I was getting into, and because we were just totally novices, beginners in this whole realm, and coming from a conservative upbringing and all tradition and everything, and so I guess the main thing I was hoping to learn from this experience is how can we do this and then still stay happily married and still
Mm.
have a great relationship that we've always had, and if anything else, make it even stronger, because of our new knowledge and this new way of thinking outside the box for us. So yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to learn.
And
My answer is
and
different, but yeah,
I
continue.
kind of thought it might be. What was on your mind? What did you want to learn?
um, so right, Bill mentioned the kink arena, right?
Mhm.
So when he brought that up, I wasn't, I guess I wanted to understand whether I had the capacity for that and what that like may or may not look like, because my initial thing, and probably also kind of why I was looking into this, was, well, maybe if this isn't something I want to do, I can outsource it, right? I can give that um, job to somebody else, is kind of energetically what was going on for me there. And I guess I was hoping to learn whether I had the capacity to be in an open relationship, and if the answer was yes, kind of what that would really look like.
Yeah. I hold in such tenderness the idea that you were willing to just be in the question. And I think what you just said is really important. Just being able to entertain your capacity, right? And that brings me to that first pillar of opening that we talk about in the salon. Can you be in self consent for the exploration? You don't have to decide to do any particular thing in opening or in BDSM or anything. But if you can consent to being in the exploration, then everything opens up. It's
Yeah, and
beautiful.
I love learning, right? And my north star for my life is the term know thyself, or is the phrase know thyself. Like, I want, that's my deepest desire. So as the work started unfolding, I could see that this was also a path to knowing myself at a deeper level. So that was really when the buy-in happened for me, when I saw that that was going to be part of it.
Yeah. I got to ask the follow up then. Was that your experience? Do you know yourself better now?
Yeah, and I still think there's more to learn.
I agree. I
Learning every day.
agree. Yeah. The two of you consistently demonstrated that you're in that constant learning state, which was beautiful from my perspective. It was wonderful to witness. And I watched you go through some discomfort and stay in I can at least be in the learning,
Yep.
even if the
And
things we're doing right now are uncomfortable. I can be in the
you
learning.
were role models in that way. Absolutely. We saw you sit your way through discomfort, picking
Yeah.
up everything you could to learn about yourselves. It's really beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am super curious. The two of you, um, you come across on first meeting as being like you fit in. Like you have this mood about you of being like you just fit in whatever room you find yourself. And sometimes people who come across that way are really nervous about exposing their personal self in a group. My experience of you was that you were really willing and able to step in and share. But I'm curious what it was like for you to be a part of a group where we talk about vulnerable things week after week.
We mentioned to you that we're in the plant medicine community, and those groups can get very intimate, where you're sharing very vulnerably, and so I've gotten my feet wet in those spaces. Now, however, in this was a completely different space that we I had no knowledge of or expectations of. I just didn't know what I didn't know, and then being in the Zoom group with a bunch of other new people, it was helpful that I had been in the spaces to get me through that, but it wasn't didn't seem too challenging, but the group in itself, it seemed there's a little, it was slow to warm up. It took several weeks before I felt connected with the group. And then, by the end of the year, it's, like when I've done, the all cohort year of opening community calls and recognize someone from our cohort, saying, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." It's, your family. And it merged into that family. Like we're on this bus together and taking it to the end, and just supporting and in the chats, outside the chats, through just continued support for everybody. And there was a wealth of information that the community supported. When we had questions, we would just pose it out and throw it into the signal space, and got great response and feedback there. I had a very positive experience with the group, and even though it was slow to build ramp up.
Yeah. I love the slow build. It can be like at the beginning, it can be like, okay, who's going to be first? It's a little like going skinny dipping. Who's going to take off their clothes first? We know we know what we're all here to do, but who's going to do it? I love that. I love that. And you know what? I think Laura went first in our group and helped build community consistently, showing up to okay, I'm going to share this raw question, this thing I don't even know, and really helped build it, because I can't do that alone. I can only do it when everybody decides, okay, we're going in. And it was awesome to witness.
Yeah, I like group work, right? I have a background, I'm a certified life coach, and I've run groups. So it was nice to be on the other side of the table for that. Right? Like I know that shame happens in community, so it has to be healed in community. So that's where I think the group format is exactly the right format for this kind of work, because it's one thing to sit alone and do the work and do all the things, but until you put it in practice in community, it's just like that's really where all the magic and the healing really happens. So the group work was never going to be a problem for me. Like that was like, it was more the content of but I knew once I could make peace with the content, that being witnessed and there's wisdom in a group. So kind of to tag back to what Bill was saying, right? The one week in particular, I feel like we're talking about is when we were trying to figure out how to have the conversation with the kids.
Yes.
And how much group wisdom, how it was like we pulled pieces from things huge. A lot of people said that created the space for us to be able to do that so really brilliantly, and we're celebrating how it went.
That was amazing to watch, and I think it's something that I get to witness throughout all the cohorts. I get to witness when there's a wisdom in a group that is so much more than you could ever get out of a book. It's why I don't
Mhm.
sell my curriculum as a standalone course, because I really believe that it is the collective wisdom that just creates something. Because that, I remember that moment, and it was this weaving together of different people's experiences and their empathy, their deep empathy
Uh-huh.
for your worry, your concern, and your excitement, and just being present to that. I remember just feeling like there's the tapestry of wisdom right there,
Mm-hmm.
just coming together. No one person could ever create that. That is the beauty of group. Okay, I have one more question, and you can answer this however you like, but I'm very curious if you would just share something that you learned or practiced that really impacted your relationships. And that might be your intimate relationship with each other, but it might also be your relationships anywhere. What? And I'd love for each of you to answer that question.
What I found really interesting is, when we learned everything, there was so much material, and we did it at a methodical pace, and so it was just a whole bunch of skills and everything. So when we came out of that, we had all these skills, and well, now it's time to put them into practice, but didn't exactly know how that was going to be until I, I've been on a couple dates, and all the things come up that we learned about, and I was like, aha, that's what that's for. And so we had a great imago dialogue. I didn't know what that was, and now I do, and now I know how to use it. And it's a wonderful tool, and it really helped us. The neurosomatic intelligence drills. My God,
Yeah.
that's like magic.
You use them at work.
Yeah,
right? It's
and
not just
it's a shame. The one that works the best for me is the demon cluck. So I'm back in hiding in my office clucking around, and so,
I love that so
but,
much. I've
yeah.
never been happier
I'm gonna
than this moment right now.
carry that image around. I love that.
So yeah, and starting to really see the value of the things that we learned when we're putting it into practice.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah.
so.
And
While
Laura, what about you?
yeah, I agree with all that. And the specific tool I want to tag, because like I have taken it, like you gave us the tip of the iceberg, is the inner council. And right, so I have taken that and I'm studying IFS now, and I'm looking at, like, so that's to me where this whole know thyself, right? So in some of the stuff we've been going through recently, I'm like, holy cow, I have a part that wants revenge. I had no idea.
That
Like
came up.
I had a
People
part that
pleasing Laura has a part that wants revenge. I love that for you.
so right, like I was like, okay, hello revenge, I see you, what are you here to teach me, right? We had a whole conversation. So the inner council and the work with the parts has
Yeah.
just been priceless.
Agreed.
Yeah, I loved watching the two of you take to that individually, because if I remember correctly, and Ken, remind me if you saw something else, please tell me, but I remember thinking that the two of you were pretty strongly enmeshed. There was your couplehood. And I could see that there was a desire to differentiate, but it wasn't happening. And then we got to the point where we did inner councils, which is just a way that I teach the basics of recognizing our multiplicity, right? And IFS, internal family systems, is a great way. If anybody's listening is like, I need that right now, it's out there. You can go Google it. It's no problem. But I watched you two like see yourselves differently and start expressing yourselves differently. It really seemed like it
It
peeled
landed.
apart some of the layers.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I could see you differentiated too, which was beautiful, wonderful. I'm very curious as we wrap up, um, if you were going back to that beginning time when you were like, should we do this? Should we bother? Like, is this worth? Because the thing is, it's mostly the time investment that I hear people being like, it's another thing to do in the midst of a busy life. What would you want to know back then? If you could just go back and tell yourself.
If it's the time investment thing, it flies by. and you get into this nice routine every week where you're, so that's what I found. But yeah, I guess when you first start, like anything, you feel, oh my god, a whole year it
A
takes
year.
forever. Yeah, and it does fly by, and the lessons we got out of it were just so valuable for us. And we didn't even know what we wanted to do, and and it's still working its way out, but we have those skills in place, and we have the resources in Notion to go back and look things up, which I've done.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I'd do it again.
Awesome. Laura, what
Yeah.
about you?
So for me, it was just the late hour. It wasn't the time commitment. Like I struggled a little bit with. I'm normally in bed at that time. uh, so I wasn't because I saw it as an investment in myself, and so for me, building that kind of time into my calendar like is already a priority and already something that I do on a regular basis. So it wasn't the time. It definitely wasn't the money. I felt like it was priced very, very fairly, right? Because, like I said, I know coaching work, and right, I
Yeah,
know
my
that.
goal has been to make it accessible. I want
Yeah.
more people to
So
have this in their
I
grasp.
want to say, from my perspective, you have achieved that. Like that, it feels accessible. I think that what I would tell that version of myself if I was whispering in her ear, like I would just say to her, I know you don't really know where this is going, but trust me, right? Like you'll get to the end of this and feel like you got more than your money's worth out of it. That the value is going to be more than you can imagine.
Well, I mean, I take that as the
That's
highest
lovely.
possible compliment.
Mm.
I really do. And it's meant the world to me to get to see the inside of your life and have you each show up and share so vulnerably, and also share your wisdom. Something that I think is underrated that the two of you did was you came in knowing that you didn't know, but also willing to share where you already had made real strides. Because the two of you were you were such a strong couple coming in. You'd already done so many amazing things and built a beautiful life together. And then you were able to share that. And you were also able to provide a level of stability in your like I could feel like you were able to bring that, and everybody has their own gift,
Yep.
right? Everybody's got something, and the two of you provided that week after week, this stable presence of calm energy, and it meant so much to me. I'm so grateful to have gotten to work with you.
Yeah. The like one or two that I missed, it was like a bummer, right? Like it wasn't like, oh good, I have a week off. It's like, crap, I got something that's a conflict that I really can't make this work. And
The
so
beauty of a recorded class, and yet still it is a bummer. It is a bummer. And I have to go through a little grieving after every cohort graduates. I just
Yeah.
like, oh, there are 4 graduated cohorts and 3 more very close, and I feel it. So I am so glad to have gotten to spend a little time with you right now and
yeah.
just caught up a
Yeah,
little
it's been
bit.
great.
And I really
Since
appreciate you just sharing your wins and your learns with everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been an honor.
Hmm.
it has.